Your dreams will come true if your mind isn't glued to the fact that life is so blue. Hi there, it's Sandy and AnaLynne here, and welcome to the Sandy and Friends podcast. Today we're with the incredible Billy Gallo, so welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. We have so many questions to ask you, and once again, I am the one asking the questions. Right.
Awesome. Well, first off, I got to say, I want to thank you for that beautiful song that you sent me.
Oh, right. That was so much fun. Aw, thank you. All right. So, AnaLynne, go ahead. So, Billy, how did you get into acting?
Well, it's interesting because, I'm watching you right now. And I remember when I was a young little boy, I had a little act that I would do, and I had a little mannequin, little puppet that I would take, and I would put him in the refrigerator. I would put him in my freezer, and then I'd pull him out, and he'd be trembling, and he'd be talking really cold, and he was part of my little act when I was 10 years old. I had this whole, I would love to perform, and I'd do magic, and it was just a whole part of, I put on a little show. So when family members would come over, I'd break out the cards, the puppet, the whole thing. So, I started out very young. I knew I wanted to be an actor when I was about 10, probably around there. And when I was 11, I was a little boy, and I was coming home from the park, and they were filming a movie on my block. And all of a sudden, there were all these cameras and trucks in Hollywood, Universal Studios. They were filming, and they set up. There was a bungalow on my block where they used that, where they built all the interior sets for this film, and they lived on my block for like a month. And I was a little boy, and I ran down the street, and I said, "What's going on here? What are you guys doing?" And they said, "We're making a movie." And I said, "Well, how do you get in a movie? I want to be in a movie." And I ran up to an actress. Her name was Morgana King. She played Marlon Brando's wife in The Godfather. And she showed me a picture and a resume, and I ran home and I took a Polaroid picture of myself, and I wrote some stuff down on a piece of loose leaf paper, and I ran down the street, and I said, "Here's my picture and resume," and had my puppet, my magic, all my stuff on it. And she got a kick out of it. Long story short, they put me in that film, and I was just background. But when I showed up to set, there was an actor that was a lead in the movie that looked like me, and he wasn't working that day, so everybody thought that I was him. So they gave me the star treatment. They gave me a chair. They powdered my nose. They, "Can I get you anything?" And I was like, "This is pretty cool." So that's truly when I got, and they paid me, so I got bit by the bug at 11. And then shortly after that, they were filming a movie called Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta in my neighborhood. And I watched them film that, and I watched John Travolta, the Screaming Girls, the whole thing. And I got his autograph, and I was like, I said to myself, "This is what I want to do." And that's when I knew, I'm going to be an actor. And I've, followed that dream, and I've been blessed.
Wow, you really just jumped right into that and talk about being meant to be. Wow.
Yeah.
So you had a whole act going before all this. So what inspired you to get into the magic and the puppets? Which, by the way, I'm not a puppet, right?
My bad. Sorry. I had a puppet, but for me, there were a lot of shows as a kid. There was a show called Shields and Yarnell. I don't know if you might want to go on YouTube and type in Shields and Yarnell. They were mimes, and they had this whole act, and I would love watching it, and I would recreate everything I saw. So that was part of it. And then I had seen a movie Houdini, and with Tony Curtis, and I was fascinated by that. So I would be like, tie me up, lock me in a closet and see me escape, So, that was it. All of a sudden I started developing. I had a little pantomime. I had a little magic, and it was a little act that I would put, so anytime I had an audience, I was, performing.
Oh, I love that. So did you do any live performing as an actor?
Yeah, well, when I was about that time, when I was about 11 years old, there was I was in school, and there was a teacher that knew that I was called hyperactive because I was always performing, and I'd watch I Love Lucy, and I'd come in as Ricky Ricardo into class and be playing, doing the whole act. And there was a teacher that noticed that, and she used to take me out of my classroom and take me from classroom to classroom to classroom, and I'd put on a little show in each classroom. And then they were doing a play at school about rock and roll or music through the ages, from the caveman era to the 50s. So I played a caveman in one act, but then in the 50s, I got cast to play Elvis Presley. And I had the whole routine down, and I had the costume, and I made a guitar out of wood with rubber bands, and what happened is the teachers had the students write fan mail to their favorite part of the play, and I got a shoebox for Elvis, got a shoebox full of mail. And it was the first time I got fan mail at 11 years old. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I was so excited, and I brought it home, and I was so proud of my shoebox full of letters. And that's the first time I was on stage, and I fell in love with being on stage, and then
wow.
I just wanted to be on stage all the time.
That is really cool. I love that you've had this around you your entire life. That's pretty wild. So would you say that you enjoy performing live better, or being on a television show or film?
There's something really exciting about being live. There's no take two. There's no, it's you're there, and there's the adrenaline and the excitement that being on stage, you can't replace that. It's, acting for film and acting for television is different. When I did Who's the Boss, that was so much fun because of the fact that it was a live show. It was, we taped it in front of a live audience. We did 2 shows. We did like an afternoon show, and then we'd break and we'd have dinner, and then we'd go back, we'd get notes, but it was always in front of a live audience. So we did it like a play. So, doing a show like that was awesome because it was live. It was like you got that reaction. If you said that joke and you could hear the audience, you literally had to hold for, it wasn't a laugh track. It was a real audience laughing, and you really had to hold for the laugh before you delivered your next line, so you didn't jump over, the laugh. You don't want to cut the laugh off. Right. But that was awesome because it was a live show.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so awesome, Sandy. I want to act now. Look at what you've done. That actually segues very well into my next question. So how did you get on to Who's the Boss? What was that audition process?
Well, I got an audition. They were looking for a kid. The character Al was a kid who was a hood with a hairbrush, they called him. He was a kid who got from Brooklyn, because Tony's character was from Brooklyn. And they wanted somebody who could be like a Brooklyn street kid. And I am a Brooklyn street kid. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I knew that character, and I made it funny because I kind of turned up the accent a little bit, and I made him a little dumb, not the sharpest tool in the shed. So I think my choices as an actor when coming into the room and auditioning for that role, and I know there were a lot of actors because a lot of those actors are my friends. You compete against these same people all the time. You're the same type. So when you go into an audition, you know everybody. So I knew there were a lot of guys reading for that role, and I was like, what choices could I make to make me stand out in the room? And those were some of the choices. I wore the leather jacket, and I laid up, laid on the Brooklyn accent, and I made them dumb. And when I was in the room, I could hear the writers in the room laughing. And when you can make a writer, laugh at his own joke that he's heard, 100 times before, you're doing something right. And I knew in the room pretty much that I had that part.
That's really fantastic. I mean, even like you were able to influence that character with your acting skill. I think that's really great.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is, Al was I was just a guest star on the show, but they liked what I did, and they kept bringing me back, and then they started, I became a reoccurring character on the show. So, I turned, a guest starring role into, 3 years as a reoccurring character.
You should have been on more episodes, AnaLynne.
Yeah. They tried. There was an episode that I did called Beautician Heal Thyself, where it was a pilot. It was almost kind of a backdoor pilot where I had my own beauty shop, and they were trying to pitch it as my own series, a spinoff of Who's the Boss. But that never came to fruition. But that episode was a backdoor pilot.
Oh my gosh, they should have done that. I would have totally watched. That's really cool. So what was that set like? What was everybody on there like? What was the vibe?
It was the best set ever. I mean, I've been blessed to have worked on many, many sets, and that was my favorite set of all time. We had the greatest cast. Katherine Hellman, God rest her soul, was just the sweetest person you've ever want to meet. And she was a comedic genius. She could come in with one line and get the biggest laugh in the show. Working with Tony Danza, who, he had Taxi. I mean, I used to grow up watching Taxi as a kid. It was one of my favorite shows, and then to come out to Hollywood and then get cast opposite Tony and become, we were pretty much best friends for a long time while we were doing the show. It was a pretty amazing experience, working with Alyssa Milano and Judith Light and Danny. I mean, that whole cast, it was just a big family, and they took me in, and I became part of that family. And you don't know this, but not only was when I was working on the show as an actor, playing the role of Al, but when I wasn't playing Al, when I wasn't in the episode, I was there every day because I was Tony Danza's stand-in. So when he had to go, Tony was a busy guy, he had other stuff going on. I would do all of his blocking and take notes. And so I got to work on a daily basis. It was like the best acting class you could possibly imagine, working with these legendary comedic actors on this show. So, I was blessed. Not only was I on the show, but I got to be there for the whole 3 years when I was there every day, because I was Tony then. I was standing in for Tony.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That is awesome. Wow. So, here, AnaLynne, you ask the next one. Okay, who is your greatest influence as an actor?
My greatest influence as an actor. That's a good one. I would say Robert De Niro. As a young actor, as a young kid, I would, I grew up in Brooklyn. I'd sneak into I'd buy a ticket to the movie, but then I'd sneak in and I'd see every movie. I'd spend the whole day at the movies, And, at the time I saw a lot of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino movies when I was probably too young to be watching some of those films. But I was so influenced by, Robert De Niro, watching him in some of his early works like Taxi Driver and The Deer Hunter and Raging Bull. And it was, there were actors, Pacino, Brando, De Niro were my guys that I, as a young aspiring actor, those are the guys I looked up to. And I was pretty blessed to have, I've acted with Robert De Niro. I've, hung out with Pacino, so I mean, like those guys that I grew up dreaming, I've had the pleasure and the honor to, spend time with them.
Goodness, you have achieved so many of your dreams. How can I be like you?
How can you be like me? Well, you just got to go after your dreams with a vengeance. You got to know, you got to believe it. You got to see it in your heart. You got to go, you know what? I want this and I'm going to go get it. And there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting it. And you know what? It's a bumpy road and you're going to get some no's, and there's going to be rejection, but you dust yourself off, you get back up and you keep going, you keep moving forward and you never quit and you go after your dreams. And you can make it a reality, but you got to believe it. In order to achieve it, you truly got to believe it in here in your heart and soul, and know this is my path. This is my talent. I was given this for a reason, and it's your obligation to shine that light and let everybody see that talent that was given to you. I mean, you have a talent. This is not everybody can do what you do. Okay, so you want to.
It's all me.
You just got to go after, and don't listen to the naysayers. People will tell you, nobody believed in me. My whole life, when I told people I want to be an actor, they were laughed at me or told me, you think, how hard that is, or blah, blah, blah. But I never listened to any of those people. I knew in my heart that this is what I was supposed to do. And I just went after it. And I was relentless in the pursuit of it, and went after it. So you can achieve it. If you believe it, you can achieve it. You just got to go after it like you mean it.
Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to describe what that means to me. I'm going to do it with my dolls.
So what is your dream?
I want to be a ventriloquist.
You already are. A dream, you've already achieved the dream. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I am a ventriloquist.
Yes, you are. And a very good one.
Aw, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. So I have one more question for you. Actually, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite part about acting?
What is my favorite part about acting? I've lived so many lives. I've been a police officer. I've been in the Navy. I've been a firefighter. I've been a teacher. I've been, I've lived like I've hundreds of lives, and every part that I play, if I'm playing a police officer, I do ride-alongs with the LAPD or the NYPD, or I train with SWAT. So that really becomes a part of me. That I have that training. And when I played a Navy SEAL, I trained with the Navy SEALs. I have that. That is a part of me. When I played a firefighter, I did ride-alongs with the fire department, and a paramedic. I ran, rode along in ambulances. Every character that I play, there's the preparation and the research and that goes along with it, that all of these characters are part of me, and I've lived so many different lives. For me, it's like, that's the greatest, to be able to live all of these different lives, these different characters.
Oh, that is so cool. Wow, you really put yourself into the mindset of the character. Jeez.
Absolutely. It's not just saying a bunch of words. It's becoming the character. How does the character walk? How does he talk? How does he move? How does he behave? All of that stuff. As an actor, you want to kind of open up your eyes and, spend some time. If I'm going to play a police officer, I want to hang out with some police officers. I want to see stuff. It's the details. It's the little things, why do they, quick little story. I was with the LAPD officer, and he had a little rubber band, a little hairband, a little black hairband around his keys, and I was like, why do you do that? And he says, well, if I'm coming down a dark alley, I don't on a bad guy, I don't want my keys to jingle jangle, right, and make some noise and let the bad guy know that I'm coming, right? So as an actor, the first thing I do is I go to the prop department. I need a rubber band, and I'm putting it around my keys, because that's the details. It's all in the details. So a real police officer is going to look and go, that's real.
Wow. That's pretty wild.
You want to look for all that stuff, the behavior. How does, the bulletproof vest is uncomfortable, the way that, all that gear and stuff, there's behavior, and you want to find that behavior when creating a character.
Now I don't want to be an actor. I need to be an actor.
Well, I believe in you. You can do whatever you want. Just got to go.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. You are just incredible. It means so much to both of us.
Well, you're very, very talented, and follow your dream. Don't let anything stop you. Go after it. Go after it with all your heart and soul, with a vengeance. I'm going to go get this, and you can achieve anything you want. Just go after it if you mean it.
Oh, well, I do, and I will.
I know you will. I can't wait to see what comes.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, so to everybody out there watching, thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Beyond the clouds and the rain, a place where your sadness drains, where the sun peers over your sadness and your pain. There is no gravity, yet within this cavity you make your own truth. Your dreams will come true if your mind isn't glued to the fact that life is so blue. Your dreams cannot stay if you don't repay yourself for making it through. The path to making your dreams come true.